It's my pleasure to provide my perspective on the U.S. NRC and what may be done, particularly to help the people who have been in the nuclear industry and now are kind of on the sidelines, that is the American worker. We have facilities all over the United States. We have engineering offices in New Jersey, in California, and we have manufacturing plants in Pennsylvania, in Pittsburgh, in Ohio, Norville, Ohio, and in Florida. These plants is where our people work, most of our employees are, and their livelihood depends, of course, their employment depends on where the nuclear industry goes, how it develops, and if they will be able to apply their trades and their craftsmanship in the industry. We maintain one of the largest plants in the United States that manufactures nuclear power plant equipment in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and we manufacture equipment there to all national and international codes, and we ship it all over the world. We are particularly known, we are industry leaders in the field of spent fuel, which was discussed here with some passion early in the testimonies. My appeal to the leadership in the country, and particularly to you, Mr. Chairman, is to not give up on technology. As we discuss the issue of spent fuel, we should also realize that people like us, with dirt behind our fingernails, are trying to make things better. So fuel can be stored for a much longer time. We last year licensed a underground storage system where fuel would be completely underground in canisters. And we anticipate, our initial calculations show, that configuration will be stable with guaranteed absence of release for as long as 500 years. So the technology is moving forward. We should keep faith in the developments that are occurring, and I believe spent fuel will not be a problem for the growth and rise of the nuclear industry, dealing with spent fuel. But my central focus of this testimony is to present to you some problems that we face as exporters of nuclear equipment to overseas markets and as employers of American workers. One of our mission is to create jobs. And we have been, I'm glad to tell you, we have been creating jobs even through this recession. We opened a plant in Ohio, in Norville, Ohio, recently that we are increasing employment, will go up to some 300 employees by the end of the year. The problem we have is that our export applications to the NRC, the applications for licensing equipment for export, goes to the back of the bus. It does not get reviewed promptly. And our competitors overseas know it. They, in competing against us, inform the host country that if you buy from the American supplier, you're not going to get the licensed equipment in time. And time, of course, is of the essence. So what I'm asking here is to direct the NRC that equipment for exports for overseas markets, if we file applications, they do get a high priority for review. Otherwise, it directly costs jobs in this country. It's a direct loss of jobs. The other point I like to make is our companies here, and no offense to George, they're foreign owned. Their ownership is no longer in the United States. And they do look at the market internationally. I believe, and the initial evidence is, that custom manufacturing work in the United States will not occur. Most of the work that will be generated from nuclear renaissance will, in custom manufacturing of equipment, components, will go overseas. It already is, which means the workers here, the plants where we employ people, we will not be able to boost employment. And this bad unemployment situation that exists right now will not be alleviated. We put out ads for employees, for workers in Ohio. For every position we advertise, we have 200 to 300 applicants. That's how bad it is. And in the middle of all this, we are shipping work that's going to be developed here with government loan guarantees. That work is going to go overseas. And I don't think that is terribly smart for any country. And the U.S. seems to be the only country following that policy. So my request to you is to direct the regulatory powers of the NRC to help the creating employment here, to help maintain our manufacturing know-how in this country, so we don't completely deindustrialize ourselves. Thank you. We have a problem there right now. The other area is employment, which is, as I said, the central theme of my presentation here. I'm very pleased to hear that Unistar is going to, and their partners are establishing employment centers in the country, and that will help, and that's wonderful. But I think that from the NRC standpoint, and I say that in my written testimony that I have submitted, it probably would be not abnormal for the government to direct the regulator that for applications that will create jobs within the U.S., they will get priority. They will all be reviewed, but the ones that will create greater employment in the country will get priority. I don't think that's illegal. I don't think it's against WTO rules. I think it will at the same time. I'm speaking for the people who don't have work, and I get letters from them every month asking for employment. And I say something is wrong if people with 20, 30 years of first-rate experience in making things are sitting home. That just isn't right. He's going overseas. Now, all I'm asking is that the multinationals who operate in this country, through the regulatory process, get some incentives to exploit those domestic resources. We can revive manufacturing in the United States. And I think it is a critical technology base for the country. It's the same people who make aircraft carriers, the same people that make defense equipment, the same know-how, welders, fitters. It's the same skill sets. And we have billions in loan guarantees that's coming from American taxpayer. But heck, we should also perhaps channel the legislation, the law, the guidance in such a way that these people, instead of watching daytime television, are working there in factories, making the equipment and keeping our technology know-how intact in this country. I believe that a country that cannot, that loses its base for manufacturing complicated weldments, vessels and components, systems that involve complicated welding, fitting, and machining, if it loses that base, then along with it, it loses a level of national security. After all, in times of crisis, you're not going to order the warships to be made in China. And if you don't have domestic welders, fitters, and please realize it's a skill that's acquired over decades. People work, they learn, they acquire the tribal knowledge to make complicated things. And if we put them out of work and we keep them out of work and they get old and they pass on, you basically have deindustrialized yourself. And that's where this country is at. The people I worked with 30 years ago, they have retired, most have died. And there are no replacements because there is no work in this country. The work is going overseas. So it is a matter of national security.